Hello and welcome back to Bill's Workbench. We are on bag D of the Orlandoo Hunter build. It is where we put the side panels on. So as we look, we've got a lot of little baby screws to do, and side panels, and the motor, and assembling the suspension and putting all that stuff on. And then bag E comes next. Then after that, we're going to figure out how to put the electronics in this thing. I have the electronics ready to go over here. Or it's not a bag. That part is coming up soon. But let's get started with the build. I have my Orlandoo Hunter here painted. I have this great bag here of stuff. I have my cutters ready to go. And so let's get started. If you make a mistake and cut these out and it bends the metal, you can pound that back to place with a little hammer on a anvil or some sort of straight metal vise, something like that. First, figure out which one I need to do first, which is this top piece, is what it's saying. It's also saying to put the lights in. I'm not going to be putting the lights into my Hunter here because I plan on doing something different with the guts of this chassis. So I'm going to save the lights for another build. You'll see what's coming up. And so let's get started. We'll put this top piece on. The top piece is right here. Well, I'm just going to go for it. YOLO, right? Oh yeah, let's come out real nice. Alright, so we'll cut these. There we go. I have some little ends there I need to clean up. I'll get my file. I have a finer file here. Yeah. And they're saying to bend that a little bit. Let's take a look at how we need to bend it. Put it into place first. Doesn't really need to get bent that much, if at all. Probably will just get bent with the screws. So yeah. Yeah, a little bit of a bend. Okay. So let's find a bendy thing. Decided to bend it like this instead of with the screws because I'm going to get a cleaner bend. Just a little bit there, and then I can bend back. There we go, perfect. Use the 1002s for the majority of this build, so we're going to bring a lot of those out. Okay. And I got my screwdriver. First one is always the hardest part. Once you get the first one, it's a lot easier. Okay. A lot of different ways of putting these metal pieces in. You could start from the end and work your way. That'll keep the bends out of place. You could go in a circle fashion. Really up to you how you want to do it. It all depends too on how it's fitting. If it fits real well, you can do the circle, or if it fits real well, it doesn't really matter. But each their own. Alright, there's the first one in place. I did do the bend. And I did that because I wanted a nice crisp crease right there. I use my pliers here that are smooth on the inside to do that. I used it like a brake. So I'm going to go up. We got to put in the little, whatever the hell these are called. Ball screws or what have you. I need to get those in there. That's where the shocks connect to. So there's two of those. and they want us to put it on the bottom to give this thing the most ground clearance. Depending on what you're after, you go with ground clearance on the bottom. If you want to lower your center of gravity, you would put it to the top. Now, why would you want to lower your center of gravity? If you're finding that your hunter is tipping a lot and flipping over, you may want to lower it and lower that center of gravity and see if that helps it from tipping over. I'm going to go with the recommendations in the manual to start, because I don't know what this thing's going to do and how it's going to perform yet. Alright, there's that. I've got, on the first step, I have those two guys on. I've got the top piece on. Now I just need to rinse and repeat, put those on the bottom. And, whoops. I did it wrong, but that's okay. I don't think that's going to quite matter. I put that top piece on first and those screws, but that's not going to matter in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all of the sides and put the little ball screws in there, and I will pick up again and meet you when we put the motor in. I got one here where I need to get the louvers bent out. And you can see on one side there is a little shave or an engraving on there. The other side there is not. So on this side you can see the engraving. So you want to bend it up towards the engraving as the little hinge. I found the best way to do that is with a knife. You got to be careful not to cut yourself, of course. But you get in there and you just bend it like that. Now that I've done it twice, I would go from the small side out instead of the large side in, because you're resting up against that, so you've got a nice clean surface. So go from the small side out. There you go. That's how you bend that one. This one, I'll show you how to bend this one again. We've got that where we've got the engraving, not the engraving, so we bend along the engraving. Engraving becomes the hinge. I have my pliers here that are smooth on the inside. If you don't have ones that are smooth on the inside, you get some, you're going to use them a lot. But you could put some tape on the inside of your pliers to make them so that they're non-marring. Or you can get the non-marring ones that I should be using, but I'm not, because I'm not thinking about it until I said non-marring. But that's okay. And then bent a little bit. Not much, just a small smackerel. And I think that's all the bending I need to do. Yep, that's all the bending I need to do. Alright, I'm ready to start assembling. This one here, I had a tough time getting it to fit, so I put these in here, so I had a lot of play. They're not in all the way. And then I put in this end one. So you want to test fit these. Don't put the screws in all the way until the very, very end. Put them in 3/4 with 2/3 of the way in, and then screw the rest of it in. That way you can move that panel as needed to get it to fit. Alrighty, those are done. And I'm on there. Boy, it makes the body look wider. It's weird. You'll see once you do yours. I got that done. I got that done. Again, I'm not doing the lights on this one because I have other plans for this model, and I've been dry fitting all of the stuff in there, and I don't know how the heck they have you put all the stuff in it, but it is what it is. All right, we are now going to put the motor in there, but before I put the motor in there, I want to make sure it all works together. So I've got the motor, I've got the 4-in-1. I've got a battery all charged up. I have a remote. We did this earlier, you remember. So I've got that plugged in. I'm at 5.9 volts out of 6 on that. Get that turned on. We are blinking. We are driving the motor. We are steering the steering. Okay, why did I do all that? Well, because I wanted to, and I really need to adjust the trim on that. Let's see. Steering trim is on 0, so the steering should be at 0, so I'm glad I did this because I need to move that steering over a little bit because I think it's going to be more difficult when I get it all together to adjust all of the trim. So let's get this fixed while we're at it. That does not want to come apart. Will come apart with the magic of tweezers. Yes! Alright, so we are at center. And we shall get you at center. Or as center as I can get it. We'll have to use the trim later to get it to go straight, but that's what it's for. I'd rather use a little bit of trim than a lot. There we go. How are you happy now? Oh yeah, look at that. That's the bacon right there. Okay. Get this all screwed up. And now we can turn this off, set this aside, get this unplugged. Yay. Get you unplugged. Alright, now we got it all fairly clean. Oh, before we get the motor on, we're going to put the drive shafts in. That seems like a good idea. It is a good idea. And the drive shafts are a tight fit. All right, let's see if the screw will go in. Use the right screwdriver. Alright, got the drive shafts in. Now we'll get the motor in there, and the motor goes towards the front. There's that. Get these screws already. Go. And they want you to put it in the middle. So that's where we shall put it. And just don't get it tight. Just get it in there so it stays. Because you're going to need a little bit of wiggle room around there. And I'm concerned about the drive shaft. Will it flop down? Yes. And the last one you can tighten all the way or just snug it. There's no reason to over tighten these or tighten them real tight. Just get them snug. I don't think there's enough torque in there to do anything. All right, let's get the back axles in first. So these go so that the open ones are down because that's where the shocks are. And the two smaller ones go to the lower or upper, depending on how you look at it, or outside. Let's just snap on. go to the middle. There we go. Get that. Probably should have put the drive shaft in before, but you know, you live and learn. I will be learning on the next one to put the drive shaft before I attach this. Oh, come on. Man, that's tight. There we go. Okay. These are the 1204s. Let's get this together before I forget. Looks like it'll go together just fine. This is fiddly. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but I don't know it. I wish I did, I'd tell you, but I don't know it. Okay, so that's like that. That's good. Let's get it screwed up. Okay. Shocks. Shocking. Oh, that went to. Oh, it went to the front end. Okay. And we want the shocks like this. This next one. Alright, we'll try this method. I think this is going to work. Yeah. That one rear end. Let's get the front end in, shall we? Alright, so what did we learn? We learned that we should put the drive shaft in first, then put this in. There it goes. That was easier. Alright, let's get to putting this front one in. To do that, I'm going to do these bottom thingy daubers first because they just get in the way. Everything just gets in the way, doesn't it? Oh, come on. I want to use my fingers on that because I want to scratch the paint more than I've scratched it already. I got it. Whew, that was finicky. Okay. Flip it over gently and get the shocks on there. And once they're in place, snap it in. There we go. And there's the front end. Look at that. Alright, we got all of that done on this. And we need to get the wires in there. Use our handy tweezers. Fold them. All right, that is it for bag D. This was a quickie because I didn't film putting all of these metal things in. I only showed you how to do a couple of them, so it's all right. They were all the same. Just take your time, get them done, and it looks pretty good. It's getting there. Bag E is next, and it looks pretty straight. I'm looking at the straightness of these axles compared to the other ones, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks okay. Yeah. So that's good. Suspension travels freely. So yeah, we're done with bag D. Now we go to bag E, which is the wheels and tires, and that's a pretty easy one. But I got to put these things on still. I'm gonna wait till the end to put these on, because I don't know if I'm gonna need to take the motor out or not to get the electronics in. It's just it's a whole thing. All right, thanks for following along, and we'll see you on bag E.